I said, hey, Lauren, too. Okay, that makes me happy. All right. So my name is Kendall, and I am a social media mentor for low energy creatives, entrepreneurs, artists. And what I do, what the mission of my company is, and my work is with my community, is to support people, especially people who identify as low energy, in their relationship with social media, because I believe that everyone has an important mission or message and deserves to get to use their voice and build community if that is their wish. And so much about social media and the entrepreneurial experience and the business industry and just our world in general is not set up to support low energy humans, humans that need rest, which is all humans. All of it is very productivity focused and anchored in perfection, which I believe is a tool that is used to keep us oppressed and keep us stuck in these cycles of just harmful and toxic behavior. And so what I'm here to do is to offer space and strategy for low energy humans, especially to be able to find a way to engage in social media for the long haul that makes sense for them. So what we're going to be looking at today is, I don't really have like a topic for today. What I thought might be helpful is, and especially as I've been working with my private clients and I've been seeing the same things come up, which is not surprising to me, and I'll get into that in a second. I thought it might be helpful if I shared some of the prompts / questions that have been really, really helpful and expansive for me, and then also for my clients. So I'm going to give a little context as to like when I use these prompts, like in what context do these prompts come up and feel supportive, because they're not going to necessarily be something you just ask yourself any moment of the day, but who knows. I'm going to look at them from the perspective of social media and content creation, especially in the name of social media sustainability, because that is my goal for you, to be able to engage with social media and build a community on social media for the long haul, not just a short window of time. But like I said, these questions, we can play around with other contexts that they could be used in, and I'll offer some examples of that. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and dive right in. These prompts are meant to be used to help you in inviting in more rest. If you've been with me for a while, or even just a day, you know that rest is so important to me. And I listen and learn from so many other people and leaders and thought leaders and communities about the significance of rest and how rest is such an important tool for us taking back our autonomy and our health, especially mental health. If you don't follow the Nap Ministry on Instagram, I highly recommend that you do. These questions are also meant to help you reconnect to your body, because especially if you identify as a low energy human, meaning maybe you struggle with your mental health, maybe you have a chronic illness or a disability, or you're just tired, or you're just tired all the time because you have a very demanding schedule or demanding life. It could be a number of reasons that you identify as low energy. Being able to tune back into your body and what your body is telling you and what your body needs is so important. And our society, our hustle and grind kind of built society, is so intent on productivity and output and doing as much as possible, optimizing your work as much as possible. And so often for people that means having to ignore the needs of their health in order to keep up with society. I mean, how many people have gone into work when they really could have used a sick day or a mental health day, just as an example. The big thing that these questions are really going to like try and open up space for is for us to recognize when perfectionism and or productivity, like hyperproductivity, are presenting themselves in our life. So just in case you've never heard me talk about this, I do not view perfectionism as like this cute little personality quirk or like, oh my gosh, I'm such a perfectionist. From learning from lots of other people who know way more than I do, I understand perfection and perfectionism to be something that is a tool of oppression, a tool of capitalism, and a tool of white supremacy. It is not an accident that we're all perfectionists. We have been indoctrinated with it from all angles in our society to reach this standard of perfection that, number one, doesn't exist, and number two, is incredibly harmful and toxic and all those things. So when I talk about perfectionism moving forward, I just want you to know that I don't see it as like you doing something wrong, you needing to, I don't know, like fix a mindset block or any of that BS that all like gets passed around in our industry a lot. I view it as something that we are actively unhooking ourselves from and recognizing when and where it comes up and how it has been used to like keep us stuck in these harmful and oppressive systems. Related to that, these prompts are also meant to help you understand how that perfectionism might be blocking your ability to function. Because like stuff does have to get done, right? Like you have to take your meds if you take medication. If you host a community or a platform on social media, like content does need to get created. It does need to get put out there. We get to decide what that looks like and what that means for you. But I mean, that is part of being on social media. If you have a business, there are tasks that your business needs to have done. If you have children or animals or whatever, like there are things that need to get done. And so often the barriers that come up for us that prevent us from being able to get these tasks done are rooted in that perfectionism. So that's an example of perfectionism blocking our ability to be able to function. Okay. So the context in which I would recommend using these questions, or when I use these questions with myself or my clients, is number one, if you're feeling really overwhelmed by things that you're trying to get done. It could be like one project in and of itself, or it could be a whole long to-do list of things that you're trying to get done. But these questions are for like when you feel like there's a lot that you have to get done and it's overwhelming you and it's preventing you from being able to start tackling one or more of those tasks. Could also be for when you're feeling creatively blocked. This comes up a lot for my clients. They want to create something, they want to share on social media, they want to engage with their community, but they're just not sure what they should create, what they should put out there. Another context that these questions might be helpful is if you are feeling really tired. And if you are starting to feel really tired, I want you to honor that, because that is you picking up on signals from your mind, your body, whatever it is. It's going to look different for every human. But if you're starting to notice that you're feeling really bogged down, that is not a sign of weakness. That does not mean that you have failed. That does not mean that you need to push through. That is a signal from your body. Your body's trying to tell you, hey, I need rest, or I need food, or I need sleep, or whatever. However, life is life, and we live in a world where even if you're tired, sometimes stuff still has to get done, right? So these questions might be helpful in that context of when you are feeling really low on energy or capacity and certain things still need to get done. And then last kind of context for when these questions might be helpful, if you're feeling like what you're doing or how you're doing the certain task or project, whether it's creating content on social media, whether it's doing your laundry, whether it's cooking dinner for your family, like whatever the context is, if you're feeling like what you're doing is wrong or not good enough, like if that kind of critical self-talk is coming up for you, these questions might be helpful in anchoring back into yourself and kind of checking in with like, okay, where is that coming from? Is it even true? how can I be a little bit more gentle with myself so that I can get this task done and continue to function? Okay, so that's my context. Here are the questions. So anyone, just as like a quick check-in, anyone who's just joining us, these are prompts that I use for myself as a social media content creator, and also prompts that I have been using with my clients. The kind of motivation for this particular training was I was noticing similar patterns coming up with the people that I work with one-on-one, and then also community members in the creative space or Free Mighty Network community. And I thought it might be helpful to share these prompts with some context, with some nuance, with some strategy, so that hopefully you can use them as a tool for you to be able to engage with social media in a way that is more gentle, more compassionate to your physical and mental health needs, and sustainable for the long run. Okay, first question, probably like the most important one, and this could be used for any context. Again, I'm going to filter it through the context of entrepreneurship and social media, but we can apply it to other contexts. First question is, what does your present self need right now? What does your present self need right now? This could be applied to, what does your present body need? Like, are you hungry? Do you need water? It could be, what does your mind need? I have a very active mind. I have a mind that is constantly racing with thoughts, and I love that about myself. And sometimes I need to kind of check back in and see, okay, do I feel comfortable with this right now? Do I need to wind down from this? Would a brain dump be supportive right now? Like, if it's starting to get in the way of me functioning, or if it's starting to make me feel anxious or ungrounded, that's when I'm like, okay, mind, what do we need right now to kind of calm down and feel safe again? It could be your business. It could be, what does your business need right now? Or your community. What does your community need right now? Doing kind of a pulse check on that. It could be, what does your creative self need right now? Especially if you are an artist, you're a writer, you're a videographer, like whatever art form moves through you, that is such an important part of your being and your experience. And I want you to tend to that like you tend to your body. For me, one of my art forms is my work with plants. Like, I consider that one of my outlets for creativity. So I do like check in with myself as like, as a plant parent, as someone who likes to engage with nature. Like, what do I need right now for that part of myself? So what does your present self need right now? That's our first prompt. And the reason that I love that prompt, and it's been so powerful for me in particular, is that as someone who lives with several mental health challenges, including anxiety and depression, anxiety is me living in the future. Depression is often me living in the past. Coming back to the actual present moment and just focusing on the present moment. Not stressing about what I need to get done next week. Not stressing about what I even need to do in an hour. Just, what does this current version of Kendall need right now has been so, so helpful. And I've noticed that it does kind of like trigger that perfectionism, because perfectionist Kendall might say, well, it's not dinner time yet. Or, you know, I'm supposed to be doing this right now, or whatever. By letting go of that and instead inviting in, okay, but what does the present version of myself need right now? That's a way that I get to validate myself, validate my body, validate my needs, and take care of myself. So that's why I love that prompt. Okay, second prompt, and this was the prompt that I shared earlier this week on Instagram. I think I made a TikTok video, but I can't really remember. What are you setting as your bare minimum? Or another way to phrase this is, are you setting 100% as your bare minimum? What are you setting as your bare minimum for completing a task or being able to move on from a task? What I mean by that question is, like, let me give an example. I'll give like a care task house example. Let's say you need to tidy up your room. Like, let's say your room has become non-functional because there's stuff everywhere, because we are humans and we have lives and stuff goes everywhere. You could look at that and say, okay, in order for this task to be done, aka returning my room to functional, tidying up my room, I have to put it back into like tip-top, 100% clean. Like, a guest could come over, the queen could come over, and it would be ready to go. That should not be the bare minimum. That should be like, if I have amazing capacity and I have plenty of time and I actually want it to look that way, great. What I want us to look at, and again, we can apply this to, you know, any kind of task or project. Okay, what is the bare minimum you need to do to be able to function? Now, we don't always necessarily want to do just the bare minimum, but especially if we're in an energy low or our time is scarce or whatever, sometimes we need permission to just do the bare minimum. But that goes against our perfectionism. That goes against what society tells us we should be doing, right? So that's why it feels uncomfortable and unsafe often for us to do the actual bare minimum. So a social media example might be, a client might say, okay, I'm like feeling really overwhelmed this afternoon because I need to batch all my content for this week, and I need to make this number of videos and this number of posts and blah, 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 blah. I might then invite that client to check in and say, okay, what would it look like to scale back on that goal and set a lower bare minimum for yourself? Like, what do you actually need right now in order to function, so that we can complete this task and then move on, so that we can complete this task so that you get to then rest or take care of yourself. And all of this like builds on each other. Like, as we continue to check in with ourselves in the present moment and we are able to rest when we need to rest, like, all of this builds and builds, and that's the sustainability that I am talking about. That's the social media long run that I'm talking about. Or if we're talking about your house and care tasks, it could be having a long-term compassionate relationship with your house, where your house is serving you and you not it. Credit to domestic blisters for that. Okay. Okay, so that was my second prompt. What are you setting as your bare minimum? Okay. Third prompt, and this one definitely like needs context added to it. You'll see what I mean in a second. So my third prompt is, where is this coming from? Or who told you that it needed to be done this way? So for some more context, like, let's say I have a client that says, like, I really need to make this video and it has to be this, and this, and I need to do this. Especially if I'm picking up that they are feeling overwhelmed, they're feeling like they're not going to be able to complete that task. What I might ask them is, who is telling you that it needs to be done this way? Where did you get the idea that in order to do this video, or in order to, I don't know, clean your house, it needed to be done in this way? And like, I'm genuinely asking that. Like, that is a genuine, like, I'm not trying to be like coy or like snippy or anything by that. What I mean by that is like take a breath and think, where did I learn that this is how it needed to be done? In particular, if the way that I expect it to be done doesn't feel accessible to me, or is coming up as a barrier to me being able to get the task done. I hope that made sense. Let me like see if I can find another way to like rephrase it. So for example, like, I had a client who she was like really stressed about doing this one particular like, she was like, I have this idea of this cool thing that I could do, but I feel like I gotta talk about this thing that just happened. Sorry, my throat dried out. Appreciate you, Lisa. So she was like, I really want to do this, but like, this thing happened this weekend that I feel like I gotta talk about. And I asked her, I was like, who told you that you have to talk about that thing? Like, why can't you just talk about the thing that is really naturally coming through for you? Like, that's valid. It's coming up at this time. It's coming up in the context of the event that you think you have to make some sort of, like, you know, super intense video about. Like, why don't you just do the thing that naturally feels good to you? That's going to feel more fun. That's going to be more joyful. It's probably going to take less energy because you have the motivation to do it, if that makes sense. That's not always going to be, you know, true for everyone in every situation, but for her, it really felt like you seem to have the capacity to do option A. Who is telling you you need to do option B? And as we sat with that, and as she like kind of checked in, she was like, nobody. I'm telling myself that it has to be done this way. And like, why do I have to do it this way? And I was like, you don't have to do it this way, just do what you want to do. And she was like, okay. So like I said, that prompt needs some context. Like it kind of needs some, you know, it'll fit better when there's like a situation going on. But that's, where is this coming from, or who told you that it needs to be done this way? Okay, last one is kind of a two-parter, because it's really the same prompt, but we could just apply it to a couple different situations. So, sorry, my brain like shorted out. I'm like, how do I want to start this? Just read it, Kendall. You wrote it down. Okay, I'm just going to read it to you, and then I can offer context. See, my perfectionism is coming up because I'm like, what's the best way that I can explain this? You already wrote it down, Kendall. Just read it. Okay. Slow down, and to the best of your capacity, think through the steps that you've been assigning this particular task or project. Okay? Take some deep breaths and think about each step to feel in to if it's necessary to include or not. Okay? So what I kind of meant by that prompt is, like, let's say you have a task that you're feeling overwhelmed by, you're feeling like it's a mountain to climb to get this task done. What I might do in that situation is have you slow down, maybe even write out all the steps if it's not kind of coming easily to you. Hi, Max. Yes, my dog wants to be let out of the room. He's just gonna have to wait. Sorry. Yeah, he's giving me the evil eye. Okay. In doing that, kind of similar to the prompt that we just went over, in writing out the steps that you have assigned this particular task or project, we can look at each of those steps and decide if they're necessary or not. So here's an example. Okay, so my example is YouTube, because oh my gosh, I have so many funny stories about YouTube. So last year I had it in my head that I was going to start a YouTube channel. I was like, I'm going to like be one of these YouTube people. This was before I even got started on TikTok, on my first TikTok account. I was like, I'm going to make all these videos. I'm going to post a video a day, blah, blah, blah. Anyone who has tried like long form video related to YouTube knows that it is so much more work than TikTok ever is, or even like Instagram, depending on like your resources, your skill set, like the tools you have, all that stuff. It took me like the entire weekend to make like one 20-minute video and get it uploaded to YouTube. I was like, this is the worst. I hated everything about this. Hello. Hi. Hi. Yeah. Okay. So that YouTube channel died, obviously, because I thought I needed to do it with like the best camera ever. I thought I had to have like stellar editing, like I needed to edit every single video, you know, perfectly, all this stuff. Like I needed to have, like, I put all of these expectations on myself, and I included all these steps as necessary for posting videos to YouTube. And so it died after like 1 attempt, because I was like, this is way too much work. Hi. Yeah, hello. Now I have a YouTube channel, and what do? I literally just upload my IGTV videos. They're the wrong format, like they're not the horizontal landscape, whatever, and I don't care. I don't care. I have 4 times as many YouTube videos as I did when I did it the right way. because I've let go of the need for it to be perfect. That will not always be the case, you know, like sometimes there are things where you need to do all the steps that are included, but there are a lot of times where you don't. So this prompt of kind of slowing down and thinking about the steps that you've assigned a task is a way for us to really evaluate if all of those steps are necessary. Hope that made sense. The kind of like same prompt, different context is, let's think about what barriers are coming up. So it could be that there's a lot of steps, but maybe you're also like, there's just like a lot of barriers that I have to get through to, you know, complete this task, like whatever it is. So, okay, bye. So like maybe a barrier is like, you know, I need to have like professional video editing equipment to have a YouTube channel, and I don't. A barrier might be like, I need a lot of time to like perfectly edit these videos, and I don't have that time. So like kind of the same format, but just presenting it as like, what are the things that are coming up for you as like reasons you can't get this task done. Same thing with what we just did with the steps. We can look at which of these barriers are true barriers that we need to sit with and work through and resolve, and which of these barriers are barriers that we can just let go. Which of these barriers are coming from our perfectionism? Which of these barriers are coming from our belief that we have to do everything in order to just do something? Which of these barriers are coming from hyperproductivity? Likely some of those barriers can get released and no longer be barriers, no longer be something that's impeding your ability to get this task done, if we sit with and we honor which of these are actually real that need resolution and support, and which of these are coming from things that we have been taught, oppressive and toxic things that have been indoctrinated in us that we get to let go of. Now, like, I don't want to make it sound like letting go of those things is like super easy, and like that's not something that like needs support or resolution. It does. Like, that's like the point of me being in therapy. What I mean in this context is like, if we're trying to get a task done and we're struggling to function, we're struggling to get this task done, in this moment, which of these are real barriers that like need to be addressed in this moment, and which are beliefs that we are putting on this task that actually don't need to be related to this task at all, like perfectionism, like hyperproductivity, things like that. Okay, so those are my 4 sort of 5 prompts. I will have a recap post for you either later tonight or tomorrow. So if you like want to have them for your records or whatever and you didn't write them down, no worries, I got you. I will have a recap tomorrow for that. Barriers versus beliefs. Yes, that, I love that reframe or that like clarification, Lisa. Like, what is an actual barrier and what is just a belief that has just been handed down to me or put on me that I get to release. And that's a process, that releasing process, that healing process is not one and done. At the same time, like, we can still do stuff. We can do stuff imperfectly while we're healing from our perfectionism, if that makes sense. Okay. My therapist likes to say, get curious. Like, that is always her like homework for me. She doesn't give me homework because she's trying to, you know, unhook me from doing things in productivity, but she always just, she shares with me, get curious, ask questions. And I think in order to do that, it brings me back to my first prompt, which is anchor into your present self. What does your present self need? Because when you're anchored into that space of my present self, that allows you some more space and perspective to be able to really tap into, okay, I'm getting curious about where this is coming from. I'm getting curious about why I think this has to be done this way, if that makes sense. Okay, that is it. This was like a little bit over 30 minutes, but this is the closest that I've come to like my actual 30-minute like goal of keeping these trainings 30 minutes. So yay. We had special guest star Max. So just kind of like wrap up, closure. Don't feel like you got to run off and do anything with these prompts right now. And like I said, I will share them either later today or tomorrow so that you have them, so that you can save them. You can put them on your wall, you can save them on your laptop, and really use them in a space for when you're feeling overwhelmed, when you're feeling like a task is not able to be completed, or there's a lot of barriers that you're experiencing with a task, something like that. If you are looking for more support, we have a no-cost Mighty Networks community, and we actually have a really exciting announcement that we're sharing to that community today, and it'll go public next week. So excited for that. And we host monthly events like breathwork. This month, we're starting an art hour with my business partner Meg, who's like way more artistically gifted than I am. And I do a monthly workshop on social media strategy, and those replays get shared, so it's okay if you don't come live. We've done co-working, like it's a lot of online events to really be able to come together in community, because we don't have all the answers. I don't have all the answers, but together in community, it just feels so much more manageable and validating that you're not alone in trying to figure out how to be an entrepreneur, be an artist, be a creative in the world that we currently live in. Last thing is that I have a one-on-one mentorship container that has a bonus that is ending this Friday. And if you're interested in that at all and you want to be able to be kind of included in this bonus to get the bonus extra call added in, just reach out to me before Friday at midnight, and we will take our time in getting set up and picking a start date and figuring out all the logistics, all that stuff. But if you think working one-on-one in closer proximity with me would be beneficial for you and your relationship with social media, just let me know and we can talk about more details and what that might look like for you and what might be the most supportive for you. So, okay, that is it. We did it. Check back tomorrow for the recap post, and we have so many fun things to talk about next week. I will be going live next Wednesday, but I'm not going to tell you what it's about because it's a fun surprise and I'm so excited, and I'm going to have another guest star. It's not going to be Max. It'll be someone even cooler. So sorry, Max. I'm so excited. So, okay, I'm so excited for next week. This week's was great, but next week's going to be so fun. So definitely tune back next week, and I'll let you know because the time might be different. So I'll let you know what all that looks like next week. So yay. Okay, everybody, get some rest today, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and talk soon. Bye. I'm gonna need you to boop-a-doop boop. I don't remember how to end this. Okay.